everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's Key Doctor training webinar brought to you by the California Chiropractic Association. I would like to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Phil Dieter. He is our Government Affairs Chair for the association. As a reminder, please mute your phones during this call, and then afterwards there will be time for questions. So at this point, I'll hand it over to Dr. Dieter.
Thanks, Kaylee. Appreciate the introduction. Appreciate everybody taking the time to be on the call today and spend a few minutes with us. My real goal of today's call is to help give people some understanding around what we're doing and how we're planning to go about doing it. At this point, if you have been asked to be a key doctor, hopefully you're starting to understand that we have some great things coming down the wire here and on the horizon for our association. And I want to be as prepared as we can possibly be. And I believe that the Key Doctor program is the venue to do that. So let's get started today. I wanted to share a few documents with you that I think will be helpful in putting some context around what we're trying to accomplish and then giving you some tools to be able to reach out to your legislators with. First thing that I'd like to take a look at is what you see on your screen. This was something that was provided to me by Don Benton, our executive director. This document basically gives you some background on how policy gets done and how things actually get moved forward from a legislative perspective. I have learned a lot over the last 9 to 10 months of being involved in this committee as the chairman, and I think that this document is definitely worth a look for anybody that's going to be involved in reaching out to legislators. Particularly as I scroll down here, I wanted to just share with you guys some of the pages that you can take a look at in terms of how bills get put together, and then especially with regards to the page that you see here up on the screen now called Key Events and Deadlines. And so the biggest thing that I need to communicate to you today is the urgency that we have around the issue that we're going to try to propose. At this point, we have been in talks with a potential author to create specific legislation to put chiropractic on the forefront of pain management as it relates to the opioid crisis. There's a number of different bills that were proposed last year that were signed into law regarding this, and as it stands right now, it appears that we're going to be able to modify or create another bill that is similar to what was the base bill last year. And at this point, we are creating what's called a spot bill, and that spot bill is something that it's not going to reflect anything that we have in writing at this point, but it's going to be very important how we accomplish this down the road or in the future. So please take a look at this document when you get a chance. It really gives you some background and some perspective on what it takes. Just to give you some background on how we've got to where we've got, up on my screen right now is the Senate resolution that was created in September of 2018. As we became more aware of the opioid crisis in the last legislative cycle, we authored and had put through this concurrent resolution, which made September Opioid Crisis Awareness Month. And that was accomplished without any opposition, which is really what has gotten the ball rolling for us here in the eyes of the legislators in terms of positioning us as people who are equipped to handle the opioid crisis or be able to participate in the management of chronic pain. Also, another resolution with regards to basically the next item that I have here up on my screen is the second resolution discussing the importance of the opioid issue and how it relates to just the general population at large. So take some time to review both of those resolutions just for your background. Now, last year on Legislative Day, we put together this document here that you'll see up on the screen now that is the Lobbying 101. So let's go through this just briefly. I don't want to take too much time because you can go through this on your own. But when it comes to lobbying, we have to think about what we do not only on Lobby Day, which is coming up on April 2nd. Hopefully you've taken the time to register for that event as well and be there in person. I know that the legislators are depending on us being there and really showing them that we're prepared to do the heavy lifting when it comes to passing a bill and doing something that's for our profession. But this can go through how to do the lobbying process, but I would also add that what we do on Legislative Day is only a small part. What we really need to do in the next couple of weeks is get meetings set up with our individual legislators in the home office. I will actually suggest that what we do in the home office is more important than what we do on Legislative Day, although that's important as well. but we've definitely got to get in the habit of making these home office appointments. That's what's been communicated to me by our potential author, and that is something that I actively do on my own to try to create a better relationship. So take a look at this. This goes through how to do the actual lobbying itself, and I think this is a good tool for you to review before you go into setting up any meetings. All right, I'll let you go through that on your own as well. The next document that I'm going to share with you are the talking points that we've created from last year, and you will get all of these documents for yourself to review and to have in your possession, print out, etc. This document is the actual talking points that you'll want to print out for yourself and take with you to any legislative appointment. We will need to modify this slightly so that it reflects 2019, but the talking points are the same. We have had an opioid task force now for the better part of 2.5 years, 3 years, which has been developing these talking points, and they are all fact-checked and referenced with regards to the resources that are out there for us at our disposal. These talking points are designed to be as brief as possible, and I want to reiterate that and remind you that when you go into a meeting with a legislator, you're dealing with a finite amount of time. We are not there to educate somebody about all of the benefits of chiropractic care or turn them into chiropractic advocates in that short span of 10 or 15 minutes. What we want to do is be as succinct and as effective as possible and get our talking points communicated correctly. So this document basically shares those talking points with you. One of the biggest ones that I think we need to continue to reiterate is how highly trained we are as healthcare providers. Education that we have gone through and the amount of care that we take in making sure it's appropriate to care for patients with chiropractic. That's, to me, one of the bigger things that we have to accomplish in the coming years, if not this year, than helping people understand how educated chiropractors are, because they just don't know. They still think that we are dealing with an inferior level of education from other healthcare providers. So if we can communicate that and hold ourselves to a higher standard, I think that is one of the bigger things that I always try to accomplish. Secondly, I would say that we want to really communicate how the opioid crisis is creating a toll on our society and ultimately use these talking points and some of the data that you're going to see here in the future with respect to making that case. The reality is the majority of the legislators already know that the opioid crisis is important. They already know that it's a problem. They're looking for ways to do things. We don't need to reinvent the wheel and re-educate them on all of these issues. We need to continue to drive home the idea and the concept that this problem hasn't gone away. It's not over with at this point. We are part of the solution, and we will continue to play a role in the management of these patients. The next talking point that we have to address here is how effective and efficient chiropractic care is. Now, we know that chiropractic care is efficient and effective, but that is another point that needs to be continually reiterated, in my opinion, is how chiropractic continues to be one of the best solutions for people in chronic pain as it relates to prescribing a medication. You will see some citations here as well on this talking point that are referenced in the back of these talking points. It is very important, I believe, to stay within our scope of practice when it comes to this, to try to stay on the talking points and use things that have evidence that are based in the literature and make that the focus of any of our presentations. To be careful to share too much with regards to how we handle patients in our own office and particular proclivities with how we apply the chiropractic practice. So do your best to stay on the talking points and use the references appropriately. Again, I think another point that has been communicated to me over and over is, are chiropractors ready to step up to the plate? Are chiropractors ready to do what they need to do, not only to take care of these patients, but to do the things that we need to do on the legislative level and on the policy level? And I believe that this Key Doctor program is the first step in making that happen. Ultimately, it's going to be on us whether or not we get this done. And that's going to require each one of us making appointments with our legislators in the home office in the near future, within the next week to 2 weeks, ideally. It's going to be on us with respect to getting up to the Capitol on Legislative Day and lobbying effectively for the things that are important to us and continuing to communicate the level of education that we have and the level of concern that we have with regards to patient safety and patient care. At this point, if we can do this, I think we can seriously move forward with regards to creating this legislation that is a positive step for us in chiropractic, but it is going to really be dependent on whether or not we can do the heavy lifting that it's going to require to make it happen. So you'll also see here at the back of this document the references regarding that. You could take a look at that on your own. Stay on the things that have been approved within this document and that are applicable to how we're trying to lobby this effort. The final document that I wanted to share with you is something that's being provided for us by the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. This will be a very cool leave behind in the future for us. We have to wait to disseminate this until after it's unveiled at the upcoming Parker seminar. They did ask us to wait to do that until they unveil it at Parker. But this is a leave behind that, if possible, could be printed in a professional manner on glossy paper or in some type of booklet fashion. It will go through in detail the opioid epidemic that is not only facing our state, but facing other states as well, or all states in our whole nation. It continues on to give you numerous statistics and then goes on to make a case for how chiropractic plays a role in that. So if possible, please print this document out in a professional manner on glossy paper, using it as a leave behind for the individual meetings that you have set up. I think that if you can do it, if you can bind it as well, just make it look as professional as possible. It will be an effective tool for us that we'll also use on legislative day once we get it co-branded with the foundation. Okay, so those are the documents that I wanted to bring to your attention that you can utilize in setting these meetings up. I need to reiterate how important it is that we get these meetings set up as soon as possible. And at this point, if you don't have one set up, please make a call today or this week or as soon as possible, because we are identifying each of the key legislators and each of the committees. So just to give you some quick background on what's been done thus far, we have had a number of different meetings with a potential author named Assemblyman Evan Lowe in regards to creating a bill that would put chiropractic at the forefront of the chronic pain management as it relates to opioid prescribing. It would be something along the lines of creating an informed consent bill that MDs have to offer things such as chiropractic, acupuncture, physical therapy, massage, etc., in conjunction with prescribing opioid medications. At this point, any bill that we have authored would have to go through a number of different committees. First and foremost, it would have to go through the Business and Professions Committee. It would have to go through the Health Committee and potentially go through the Appropriations Committee. So we have identified each of the members of those committees, and I have also tried to communicate that with the appropriate key doctors in terms of reaching out to those individuals on those committees, because we need to reach those committee members before we even reach anybody at this point, any of the other legislators. So I can't reiterate, if you are a key doctor for one of those committee members, how important it is for you to get those meetings set up soon. I would say to some extent, the willingness of the author to move forward with this legislation is going to be dependent on how willing we have key doctors to set up meetings with those committee members. So I will be staying on the people that are assigned to those committee members personally, as well as anybody else who's a key doctor throughout the state. We are in the process of creating a Google Doc that we will share with you that will help you to let us know what and where and how you have set up the meeting, and then also other action items that become important to us, such as leave behinds, passing out talking points, etc., will also be identified in that Google Doc. Keep your eyes open for that Google document, and hopefully you'll be able to see it soon. I don't have any other items at this point to review with you. I will be available to answer any questions after this, and feel free to reach out to me personally as well if we need to do any further follow-up. Thanks again for being on the call.
Okay, at this time, if anyone has any questions for Dr. Dieter, you can either chat them in the chat feature below, or you can talk on here freely if that's also something you want to do, or contact Dr. Dieter, as he said, via email or phone. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.